Now recall the recent question, is 3.2u, well, the recent question we did a little bit earlier, what multiple of u plus what multiple of w add up to 3v? We sketched out our vectors and we drew a diagram, and we estimated that 3.2u plus 2.7w should equal 3v, the way we had the vectors drawn there. Now the vectors are drawn a little bit differently here, so we really don't expect that to work out, but let's see how well we did. Well, 3.2u plus 2.7w gives us the vector 3.17, 13.75. 3.17 this way, 13.75 this way. 3v is 9 this way and only 9 this way. These don't match up very well at all. So here's our 3.2u, here's our 2.7w, and then these are represented schematically. W is a little steeper than that. I didn't draw it very well. But here's a schematic of the fact that 3.2u plus 2.7w equal, it should be 3.2u plus 2.7w. And incidentally, on the last board I just had 3u up here. I neglected the 0.2, so let me correct it here. 3.2u plus 2.7w. Okay, that's a schematic of the sum. Now, my real question is, what multiples of u and w would add up to 3v? Okay, so that's our question. Now, I'm going to translate that question over onto this board, and we'll work from here. Okay, so the question then is, what multiples of u equals 0.4, is it? Yeah, 0.4, 0.3. And w, which is 0.7, negative 1.5, and I've got a correction to make on the other board here. We'll do that before we get into this. Add up to 3v, which is 3 times the vector 3, 3. Okay? Now, before I get into that question, let me come back here and note that maybe we did a little better before than we thought we did. Because when I wrote down my w vector, I wrote it down as 0.7, 1.5, and it's really 0.7, negative 1.5, because of course we're going in the negative direction here. So our rise is negative 1.5 and our run is 0.4, okay, or 0.7. And I overlooked that, and that was kind of a bad error to make. Okay, so I'll try to do a short video to correct that in advance so you know to look out for it, so you don't get misled if you do these in order. And what's that do? That changes my 1.5 here to a negative, my 4.15 to a negative. And now if I do negative 4.15 and 9.6, I get 5.45. Well, okay, so this still doesn't match up very well with this. So we still have the question of what multiples of u and w add up to 3v. Now we're going to address that question. Rid of this board here. And first of all, we see my picture. Okay, this picture depicts the u vector, the 3v vector, and the w vector, much in the way we did earlier. we put the u vector with its initial point coinciding with the initial point of the 3v vector. So we want some multiple of u, which means we're going to have to find some place along this line where we can add to some multiple of w and get 3v. Now, where do we have to go along the line of u? We have to go to a point where our direction back to the tip of 3v matches the direction of w. So we draw the vector w here as an aid to figuring out where that is. And then we draw a line parallel to that, and we find that if we go along the u line to this point, we get a vector which, when added to this vector, gives us the vector 3v. And this vector is parallel to u, and this vector is parallel to w. Now, according to this picture, which I don't think is going to give us any better estimate than before, it looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 u, and then how many w's? We got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 w. So I'm going to say, okay, 5u plus 6w. Let's see how close we get, because we're going to be able to solve this problem. Okay, so what we do is we say, okay, well, I'm going to take some number times u and some number times w, and I'm going to let those numbers be unknown because we don't know what goes in front of u and what goes in front of w. But I'm going to say, okay, let a times u plus b times w equal 3 times v. And we want to solve this for a and b. Well, u is the vector 0.43. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. And v is the vector 3, 3. But it's not, it's w. Okay, we have to use w here. Got ahead of myself. Okay, so let's try again. B is the vector 0.7, w is the vector 0.7, negative 1.5, and that should equal 3 times the v vector, which is the vector 3, 3. Okay, so there's our equation. Now, see if you can solve that equation. Okay, if you keep your wits about you and write out everything carefully, you have the skills and the knowledge at this point to solve this equation for a and b. Okay, we're trying to find a and b.